Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Full Pelt Music podcast. Shortly, we'll be joined by Salvation Jayne, who we recently featured over on our Hard and Heavy playlist with their new single, So Dull, So Quiet. But before then, the usual reminders from myself. If you would, please do follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And again, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening. Welcome, Salvation Jayne, to the Full Pelt Music podcast. We've got Estelle, Erin, and Dan with us. How are you all doing on this quite sunny evening?
Yeah, good. It's nice to actually come back to some sunshine. Because, last time I was in the UK, it wasn't very fun. And then even when I went to Turkey on holiday, most of the time it was grey and overcast. So, it's nice to be like, summer is here.
It's still not that hot though, is it?
I'm in shorts and t-shirt.
It was really
not
nice
as
today.
hot as it should be.
Do you
You look
reckon?
like you've caught the sun, Estelle.
Sorry?
You've caught the sun, definitely.
Yeah, I fell asleep in the park.
Oh. Oh no.
It was a hangover in the park, and I just fell asleep, and I woke up very hot. But yeah, I feel like it's summer.
Yeah, definitely does feel like summer's on the way. Obviously, Slam Dunk was this last weekend, so festival season, I always think, is officially here once Slam Dunk has come around. So that's always good. And obviously, you've got a lot to look forward to. You've got a lot of things happening with the band. And we're going to start off with your recent single. So Dull, So Quiet is your, for lack of a better word, comeback single, because of course you've had a slight lineup change since your debut album come out. So obviously, So Dull, So Quiet, it's been out for a little while now, and obviously we've really enjoyed it. Put it on our Hard and Heavy playlist, which listeners can go and check out. What can you tell us about that song then? What are the themes behind that song, and how did it come together for you?
Estelle?
Lyrically, for the lyrics?
Yeah.
I think this is more about anger, and sometimes we should repress it to stay in the line and all that, but sometimes it has to get out, otherwise it's just repressing it inside, and it's not sane neither. So yes.
Yeah, it's a bit like there's an episode of The Simpsons called Angry Dad, where Homer he lets his rage build up, and then eventually he gets this sort of growth on his neck, and then it's just about how if you don't let it out, it can really have catastrophic consequences. So I guess it's kind of about that, I suppose.
Yeah, it's letting it just taking over you sometimes.
We were kind of at rehearsal, and we with the album that we released last year, we'd kind of planned that out quite meticulously, and we're like, each song's got to be kind of this length, and I guess it was maybe a little contrived. And when we were writing the new stuff with Estelle, we were just kind of like, let's not sort of stick to a formula, let's just write what we write. And I come from a background, years ago, of playing in hardcore bands, and so we kind of had that really fast section at the end that sounds like Strife or Snapcase or something, and we just kind of chucked a load of stuff in that we all like. So you've got the electronic, atmospheric bits, and we kind of didn't go, we've got to write something that sounds like Salvation Jayne. That is probably the most organic thing we've written, I think, so far, that song. It was kind of a anything goes sort of thing, and it seems to have had a really good reaction, so that's probably what we'll do.
Yeah, so obviously it is telling, a slight change in sort of musical direction, as it were, but obviously, as you'd put it, more of a freedom to obviously go back to the drawing board without any kind of shackles to you. Obviously, I'm guessing, you've been working on a bit of new material, and perhaps not just that one song. What about So Dull, So Quiet made it stick out to you as obviously that first song to put out there with the new lineup? obviously set it apart, as it were, from the rest?
I think personally, because we actually got in the studio and had written another couple of songs like before it, but this is, I think, about the third or fourth one we got through, and it was the one where we all started to kind of click together. And I think we're the other two that we did before we were quite happy with, but this one I think we all kind of just had that moment where we were like, wow, this is really like developed into something special. And particularly once we got the demo done and had Estelle's vocals over the top of it, I think it just really took it to another level. And I think, yeah, once you heard those demo vocals, it really just made it, yeah, stand out in a really magical way.
We sort of decided as well that because we've had a change of vocalist, we wanted whatever we put out first to be quite hard hitting. And you know, because there are a lot of questions as to whether we were going to recover and all of that kind of stuff, and so we were like, we want to come back with a bang.
Yeah, and I certainly think you have done that. You certainly have come back with a bang. It is a fantastic song that listeners really need to check out. And obviously, Estelle, for you coming into that process, writing new material with a band that has existed for a while, how was that experience for you?
That was scary because I was really scared that they don't like. So yes, but it's fine. Like, at least we had one that we released, and hopefully the rest will be fine as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be. If they're anything like So Dull So Quiet, they're going to go down really, really well. And I always like to touch on the video, because I think music videos are completely a lost art these days, because no one really sits and watches music television anymore like I did when I was younger. Not that I want to sound that old now, but you know, it's been a while. And obviously YouTube's the main place to go, and it's all on demand these days. So listeners definitely need to check out the video that's come out for the single. How did that video come about for you? You know, who come up with the idea for the performance video, as it were, and you know, how did it conceptualize for you?
Trying to think. I think, wasn't it just literally we were talking about having a video, and Holly, our guitarist, was like, oh, I've got a house that's like derelict, that's basically empty, that we could use as a space. And we were like, yeah, that might work. I don't think we had any other ideas for it, did we?
Well, we wanted to go for something gritty because the song was quite kind of, you know, sort of grimy sounding. And
yeah, grungy, wasn't it? It was like a grungy vibe that we wanted, like that kind of 90s to early 2000s sort of look.
Yeah. And Zach, who we'd used him before, and we really like his style, and he really gets that sort of thing. So we'd already decided we were going to use him, and then we were like, do we, you know, do something with a storyline? And then we were just like, no, we just want to come back. We want people to see what the band looks like now. And yeah, Holly had that house that is about to be renovated. So we were like, yeah, perfect. We'll just do a performance video there, try and capture the sort of energy of the song, which I think he did such a great job, Zach.
Yeah, it looks awesome.
I love the lights that he did, the lightning. It's really beautiful lights.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Yeah, definitely. The lighting added that extra kind of element to the video for me, that took it beyond a kind of cliched performance video. And obviously, yeah, the house worked really well. Look, the whole video, the aesthetic around the video fits the song, and obviously it all works really, really well. Was it a conscious decision to go, for the performance type video rather than, you know, a story type video?
Yeah.
Just because obviously he's an introduction again to the new look band. Was that part of the thought process?
Yeah, because we've done the video. I think it was the video that we did before that was very complicated, and it took like over 2 days, and it was all like such a long. It just, this one felt more natural. We just sort of was like, let's just perform it, and on the day, you know, let's just see what happens. And it just felt a lot better, it being a bit more relaxed and less kind of, we've got to do this now, we've got to do this, I've got to go and get this, that. And I think obviously it just, when you're playing and you're a bit more relaxed and you're being filmed, you can sort of see that anyway. I think, yeah, that was kind of where we were at with it, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were just happy to let Zach, just like have whatever.
He's so good, isn't it? What he does. Yeah, we were just like, just light it beautifully as you do with all your videos. Let's have some grunge come through, a little bit of 90s aesthetic. He was like, yeah. Then we saw it. We were like, there was actually no edits that we wanted done. It was like the first edit he sent through. We were like, that's it. That's fine. That's exactly what we thought. Probably beyond what we thought what it would look like. So it was definitely our best experience with a music video, I think. Like, I feel like now, as we've been we all know each other really well now, and we know Zach a lot better. I think it's sort of the second time we worked with him, wasn't it? So it all felt a bit sort of more natural, and the process just was so much easier and way more enjoyable than ones that we've had previously, I think, because we totally had that trust in him as well. So it was really nice, to be honest. Yeah,
which is fantastic to hear, because that's what these things should be. You are in this really, obviously, to make hopefully have a bit of a career, but obviously to have fun would be the most important thing for me always. And the videos come across so well. I've got such respect for obviously the people that can put a video together like that, direct and obviously edit and produce a video of that quality, because it's far outside of my capabilities to do. So a lot of respect for Zach on that one, because it does work really, really well. So obviously, we mentioned, it's the first single to come out from you since the lineup change, and you touched a bit on the reaction earlier, and I just wanted to delve into that, because of course back in, again, to make myself sound old, which I constantly find myself doing, but back in the olden days, obviously you had to wait a while to get reactions for things that came out. Obviously you'd have to go and talk to people at a show, or wait for a newspaper or a magazine to come out with obviously reviews, etc. With social media, reaction is instantaneous. So obviously putting that song out, firstly, how sort of nervous were you of the reaction that was going to come, and how have you actually found the reaction that did come?
I think we were really worried, because it's quite a big change from how we sounded before, and people really liked what we were doing before, so there's always that worry of, oh well, what if people go, oh well, they've lost something, or it's always nervous. I think especially with replacing a singer, it totally changes everything more often than not. But we were blown away by just we believed in it, and we kind of said to ourselves, well, if nobody likes it, so what? Like, we love it. But it is still a bit nerve-wracking, but I don't think we expected just how positive the responses were going to be, and it kind of couldn't have gone down any better, really.
Also, there is that feeling when we practice the song, when you practice a song you enjoy playing, you always very positive about it, very thrilled about it, and you kind of are looking forward to share it, even though you don't know the outcome or if someone but you're like, oh, that was so fun, let's play it again. Or so it was a bit scary, but exciting as well, I guess.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And from what I've seen, the reaction has been truly positive. As I say, I've certainly really enjoyed the single, and looking forward to what you've got coming next. And we'll kind of push ahead with the future in just a second. But before then, we'll take one slight step back and just look at, obviously, A Mouthful of Magnificent Spite, your debut album that came out probably about 18 months ago now. Obviously, always a big thing to get a debut album out into the world. So just, what was that experience like for you to do that?
Anyone else want to?
It's a bit hard to like say anything because obviously I'd only joined the band for that album, so
I'll tell you what.
it was
Yeah, go on, Erin.
it was like for me personally, like it was a really really good moment because I don't know, I never expected that I'd end up joining a band like Salvation Jayne, and just like all the things that were coming out of it, doing the 2 UK tours, going to Rockfield and recording that was just like really really magical, and like I genuinely was having the best time playing all those songs. So yeah, like to be involved with a band with as many talented musicians, and then to actually make something that so many people that I know, like good friends of mine, and like or people who knew us by association were commenting on. So it was a really like proud moment for me as a musician to work with Salvation Jayne. So yeah, like I loved it. Genuinely loved it.
Yeah, to be honest, I was going to say the same. That just when you sort of look back in hindsight now, obviously, things have happened since. But obviously, when you put out your first ever album, obviously the whole recording process and where we were, like that was a great experience and a really good memory. Like no matter what's happened since, so you know, you never would take that away from us that experienced it. And it was obviously, yeah, same as what Erin said, it was a really proud moment, and it kind of makes you in a way a little bit hungry to get to that point again where you're releasing another album, but now with what I think is way better material. So yeah, it's kind of made me a bit more hungry to have that again, and go back into the studio and maybe spend a week somewhere. And well, I think we did. We managed to cram a whole album in a week, which kind of seems mental now looking back at it. Maybe we need to give ourselves a little bit longer for the next one.
Well, we didn't. We did the drums, the guitars, and the keys, and the lead vocal in a week.
Oh, that's right. You didn't do the bass, did we?
We did the bass at mine, all the backing vocals, and all the additional production. It ended up being months in the end. It's only the bare bones of it we tracked in a week in the end. But yeah, it was a really great experience. Like everyone in the band was really, you know, we were all just happy to be at Rockfield, and everyone sort of really pulled together. And you know, it's a week that I think all of us will always look fondly upon. And you know, we were really proud of the album as well when it came out. But obviously now it's been quite a change in direction, and like Tor said, I think we just want to get back to that point again, sort of fairly sharpish.
Yeah, no, definitely. And obviously life is all about experiences that we obviously experience as we go through, and also about, you know, I always think about, you know, learning lessons from past experiences. So obviously as you go now into the new phase and obviously look to start, you know, recording again, you know, have you, you know, decided that you've learned some lessons and you obviously want to change any approaches? You know, what kind of mindset do you take into this new recording period for you?
I think
there's less pressure, isn't there? I feel like,
and there was also less like trying to make things in a certain way, like making songs so formulaic. We just kind of like, let's just be ourselves and just see what happens. So I think that's why it's So Dull, So Quiet has so many like different layers to it, even though it's not necessarily a long song. There's so many different ideas there. But it's nice to see it all working really well together. So yeah, I think now we're just more happy to like be us rather than try and like write the perfect song.
Yeah, because we knew in advance that there were going to be 5 or 6 singles off of the album. So kind of when we were writing, we were like, oh, you know, this one's got to be no longer than 3 minutes 40, and the chorus has got to kick in under a minute. And there was a lot of sort of preconceptions as to how the songs were going to be. Whereas with all of this new material we've written, we've just gone, sod it. Like we're literally just going to write whatever we want, and you know, it's so dull, so quiet. It's not an obvious single in the sense of there's not even an obvious sort of chorus in it or anything like that. It's a pretty unconventional structure, but it's not caused any issues at all with it. So I think that's our mentality moving forward. We're just going to write what we write, and yeah.
Great attitude to have, definitely.
It's not the rules.
Yeah, exactly. There's far too many rules in the music industry for sure, and people should be breaking them down. So obviously, yeah, we have touched on there is some other songs in the work, and obviously there's normally sort of structure to how things are put out into the world. Let's put it that way within the industry again. So you probably can't give away too much, is what I'm getting at here. But for listeners that obviously are following your journey, what is the next step for you? Are you looking to put something a bit meatier out into the world, an EP, another album? What are your goals going forward?
I think, I mean, at this stage, we need to get back on the gigging circuit because we haven't played a show in over a year. And I think for the foreseeable future, we'll probably be putting a single out every sort of 6 to 8 weeks, something like that. With a view to eventually, doing something that's a bit more weighty. But we don't know what yet because we've, as I say, as we've taken all this time out, we've kind of got to get the wheels in motion again and then come up with a plan. And it depends what happens in terms of management and, you know, where that goes. And so we're a bit unsure at the moment, other than we know we're just going to put regular singles out.
Yeah, which is the way a lot of bands go these days, to be fair, is that just to keep that constant content going, which again, people's attention spans are ever so short these days, and I think it helps to be able to keep putting that out there. So obviously, if everyone listening to the podcast, really easy for me to give the social handles out for Salvation Jayne, because on all of the social sites it is literally just at Salvation Jayne.
Salvation Jayne.
Which is fantastic, because quite often I find myself sitting here and having to give out 3 different handles with all sorts of underscores.
Underscore hashtag. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Lucky for us, it's pretty straightforward.
Exactly. And luckily for me and luckily for listeners, obviously listeners, definitely the best way to keep up with the band is social media these days. Obviously, please do go and follow the band on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter at Salvation Jayne.
And TikTok.
And TikTok. Oh yeah. See again, I'm going to show
come join us.
I don't understand TikTok.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
But yeah, so obviously for listeners then, TikTok as well, and I'm guessing that is at Salvation Jayne as well.
Yes.
Which is good. So I mean, I'd like to think they would have been able to find you anyway without me giving those, but you know, we give them out every episode because it is always a good laugh. But obviously, Dan, you touched on getting back out there and playing live shows, and listeners that are following you on social media would have seen already that you have got your first show with the new lineup lined up, as it were. It's at the Lighthouse in Deal, and is on Friday the 21st of July. So obviously, first things first, I implore listeners, if you live in the area or even if you don't, to try and head along to that show and obviously capture a moment of history, as it were, with obviously the new lineup coming out and playing live. What should people heading along to that show? What should they expect from the gig?
There'll be
songs.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we always used to have, when we played live before, a lot of kind of samples that link the tracks together and all of that. Like, none of that stuff has gone away, so it will be similar to the previous Salvation Jayne in that sense. Obviously, they're all new samples and stuff, but I think they can expect a much more energetic and diverse set. And and actually a band that knows themselves more than ever now. Like Erin was saying, and Tor, like, these songs we've just written from our hearts, for want of a better phrase, rather than from our heads. And they are pure, like like I say, there's elements of electronica in there. There's elements of post-hardcore. We've even got a section in a new song that sounds like a black metal band or something, like the chord progression and stuff. Like,
Black
you know,
metal.
there's elements of Refused, elements of Sleep Token, elements of Turnstile, you know, elements of like Aphex Twin and with the electronic stuff. Like, it's a lot more varied, but I think it's the truest form of Salvation Jayne.
Yeah, excellent. Well, obviously that is definitely whetting the appetite, and I look forward to the black metal elements coming in. That sounds very interesting indeed. So again, it's the Lighthouse and Deal on Friday the 21st of July. So obviously a good Friday night out there for anyone in the local area to pop along and see that show. And I'm guessing, obviously, like you say, once that one is in the bag, as it were, the plan is to get out and play a lot more live shows. Is that something the listeners
Yes, please.
can
Yes,
expect?
please.
Obviously, it's in this day and age, you know, especially in the industry is struggling as the world is, cost of living crisis, etc., etc. So, you know, it's all well and good to say we want to play shows, but yeah, I don't think a lot of music fans realize how difficult it is for a band to actually get out and play shows.
Yeah.
So, you know, what are you guys experiencing at the moment? Are you still trying to get shows booked in, or are they ready, just not able to announce yet?
No, do you know what, we've, other than this initial sort of comeback show, which we only sorted out a couple of weeks ago, we haven't done anything yet. The plan was to get that one booked, and now over the next couple of months we'll start putting the feelers out and try and get more shows after that date confirmed, and, you know, just kind of let it build from there.
Yeah, no, excellent. So obviously, like we say, social media is the place listeners to find out about them shows as they get announced. The last question we've got is potentially a new segment that we're going to try and factor into the podcast moving forward. So you guys are my guinea pigs, as it were. Okay. Yeah, it is basically a simple question of, and talking about, obviously the industry is a bit of a struggle. If you had a magic wand and you could fix one thing about the music industry, what would you fix?
We answer this as a band or as individuals?
I reckon we can go individually and then see if you're thinking along the same lines.
I know that I would, the way that you get played on, like, sort of the PR aspect of putting out singles and the campaigns you're meant to do is we've had probably very hit and miss ones for our whole band career. And I think that, like, you know, people say, oh, we know this person from radio and we know we can get it played on that radio show. And it's just like, you see your friends and that doing it, but they won't ever sort of tell you how they did it. And then you try and it doesn't get anywhere. And it's just like, oh, I wish that people would just be a bit more transparent about how or that it's actually easier than what they make it out that it is easy, but it's actually not. And that to get played on, like, the big boys, big girls shows, it's not as straightforward as everyone makes it out to be. And normally there's thousands of pounds behind it. And anyone with no budget is gonna struggle for that exposure, which obviously then blocks out a whole ton of bands, probably most bands, 99.9% of bands, to get that kind of exposure and plays. And that's my only bugbear so far. Well, actually there's a few, but that's my main one with our recent single.
Exactly. So with that magic wand, you only get one, unfortunately, one that you can fix.
Well, there you go.
And there are so many that people, that need to be fixed. But obviously, if we chuck it out, Dan, you know, what if you had that magic wand in a turn? What would you look to change?
I would change the music industry to make it, you know, like it was sort of back in the 90s and prior to that, where if you were a good band and wrote good songs and practiced hard and you could pack out local gigs, you would very likely get a record deal with a major label. And and then kind of the rest would be history. Obviously, there's a lot of variables there, but the industry seems to be about artists that were pushing boundaries, able to write, able to, well, no, I mean, even like the technical ability thing isn't important really. It's about people that work hard and can write good songs and all of that kind of stuff. Like, I don't feel that the music industry is so much about the song anymore in the traditional sense of the word. It's like TikTok followers and Instagram followers and stuff almost take precedence over what's coming out of the speakers. So I would change things around so that it was about the song before anything else.
And I love that one. That is definitely a great one. Yeah, couldn't agree more with that one. How about yourself, Erin?
The main thing that I would love for the music industry to do is actually work on encouraging young talents to start forming bands. Because I remember when I was at school, I think I was 14 when I went to my first kind of like grassroots local gig, which one of my classmates was playing in, and like everyone there was between like 14 to 19, and it was just such a good atmosphere. And I think it really like encouraged a lot of young musicians to start doing it. And when I was coming out of school, there was in my local area, there was like venues everywhere that are open from Thursday to Sunday with local bands on, and it was such a good atmosphere, and everyone seemed to like know each other, and there's always a buzz, and you could guarantee you would have 100 people at each different venue whenever there was a band on. And I really think we should be encouraging young musicians to start doing that again. Because yeah, like a lot of I mean, I teach at like various different schools and privately as well, and a lot of the kids that I teach haven't ever had the access to like play with other musicians or meet other musicians and actually form a band. So sometimes like I'll jam along with them playing drums or something like that, and like instantly you can tell their reaction. They're really like elated with the experience of playing like loud music with someone else. And I think, yeah, it's a real shame that we haven't found a way to really encourage young people to get into the music industry. And I think, to be honest, it would do good for everyone. It would really like bring the interest back to life. And I think it would do so well. This way, like, I think you see a lot of kids on TikTok like making videos and stuff. There is still an appetite for it. It's just, how do we get people into live music again? So that would be my thing.
Yeah, no, that's again a really, really good one, Erin, and obviously kudos to you for the work that you are doing in the schools and everything. That's fantastic. And Estelle, then no pressure, because obviously you're probably thinking, oh, I need to pick something different.
Yeah, I know. I think there is something that I would like to fix if I had a magic wand, and it's more about keeping curiosity and having more curiosity towards music and arts rather than going to familiarity, because very often we don't necessarily give a chance to some bands or musics because they're not described a certain way, but simply because they are a blend of a lot of influences. And it's a shame, because that's music. It's just influence from different stuff mixing together, making a new baby of a new style of music and all that. And it's true that it's a little bit of a shame in when you apply your music, whether it's radio, when you try to pitch your music and all that, you have to be very precise. And it's true that it doesn't define your success with that, but it does help when you know exactly how to describe the music. And I think it's a shame, yes, to close doors on that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess that kind of feeds into the themes of, yourselves and how you're approaching the new music going forward, about not just sticking to the familiar and sticking to the formula that you think is what's required, and actually just expanding your musical palette, as it were.
Yeah.
Which is
I think music is more of a mood than a music style now. Like, it's more moods. If you look at what people listen to, they listen to everything, but there is a common mood or a personality behind those songs. And I think that's beautiful. It's art. It's nice. And yeah, that would be nice if we mixed more style together. Yeah.
Yeah, no, fantastic. All four of you have given like really, really good answers to that. So I think that may well be a topic that becomes a bit of a recurring theme in the podcast. So no, thank you so much for that. And thank you obviously for joining me and giving me your time on the podcast. For the last sort of question, as it were, I always just throw it back to the guest and just say, you know, what would be your final message, you know, as a collective for the listeners today?
I would like to thank them for sticking with us, because we've obviously not been about for a best part of a year, and you know, for taking in the new sound and all the new fans. Obviously, well, they're in luck because we've got some more stuff coming. So yeah, we appreciate all our support like immensely. So, and doing things like this as well is great. So yeah, it's all positive vibes and whatnot moving forward. So
yeah, no, it certainly seems it. Certainly seems it. So obviously, listeners, you know, again, just to drill at home, you got the show at the Lighthouse and Deal on Friday the 21st. Make sure if you can, you try and pop along to that. Check out the new single. Obviously, it's a great single, and the video as well on YouTube. Make sure you check that one out and follow the band at Salvation Jayne across all the social media channels, including TikTok. Yeah, thank you all so much for giving me your time on the podcast.
You're very welcome.
Thank you so much for having us.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I really do hope you enjoyed that chat there with Salvation Jayne. Make sure you check out their new single, So Dull, So Quiet, over on our Hard and Heavy playlist on Spotify. And of course, do follow the band across social media. You can also follow Full Pelt on social media. We're on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And finally, if you would, please do hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, wherever you're watching or listening, because we will be back very soon with another episode of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.